How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the show. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. We've got a great one for you once again. Man, these green candles, they never get old. They never get old. The sadness has seeped away. The bear market, long forgotten. Or let's see, forgiven, not forgotten. We come up with some slogan for getting rid of the sad feelings from price going down forever. Who knows? Maybe we'll get the reversal. Maybe price will go up forever. Maybe I don't know if that. Who knows? Who knows? We definitely don't give financial advice of any sort on this channel. Very excited to have Jesse with us today. Got a few topics to go over. Definitely, again, the title of the stream: Ecosystem of Mad Gains. I really like the ecosystem of freedom, and that's what's on GoRealDeFi.com as well. That the bottom of it with a little eagle. I really like that, and I think this ecosystem bizarre and special in so many different ways. It's amazing how everything has came together. I was watching Big Pep today too, and I think he's going to come on the show maybe next week. Really excited to talk to him. It's one of the few people I haven't talked to yet that's been around for a long time in the ecosystem. And he was just going through, $1 hex and a bunch of just, it just feels so good to hear that and it not be this, no, oh, don't talk about that. You're crazy. Or like, that kind of thing. And, 10,000X is coming back in style, I think, as well. So, Westcott's definitely hung on to that one. And hey, I said the other day, if you're going to tell people, hey, you might get a 5 or 10x here, if everyone believed that, why would the price do anything but that, right? Like you need to. It's not saying that you need to lie or just be delusional, but hey, you can shoot for the stars. I mean, there's no price god telling us we got to stay at a certain level anyway. So, anyways, I'll get to chat in just a moment. But without further ado, welcome back to the show, Jesse. How's it going, man?
Going great. You remember Roaring Kitty?
That sounds so familiar.
From GameStop. So
yes,
he was the streamer who used to always talk about GameStop.
Okay, it sounds familiar.
And nobody thought that GameStop could do as many X's as it did, right? Everyone was putting, all the institutions were putting in short positions and everybody doubted it. And yeah, GameStop was in for some hurt with some maybe not bankruptcies, but just shutting stores down and stuff. And you know what he said? He simply said, I just like the stock. I think it's undervalued. And I don't know that he ever put any like price targets like, oh, I think GameStop is going to do a 10,000X or anything. But he simply stuck to that narrative of, I think that this stock is undervalued. And if we look at PulseChain, I actually think that PulseChain is currently undervalued. I don't know how many X's it might do. I don't know how big of a dip might occur before it does the number of X's. I have no idea. But I do believe in my heart that today PulseChain is undervalued. I think there's a lot of people building on PulseChain. There's more and more legitimate products that are being created. DeFi protocols, lending protocols, ENS name service protocols, all sorts of things that you see over on ETH. So that whole narrative of, hey, this is a cheaper, faster Ethereum are all slowly coming true. Mm-hmm. It should only be a matter of time before people say, you know what, that chain actually works. It is cheaper. Maybe it's not necessarily faster, but hey, it is cheaper. And there's easier to talk to community over there for me to learn about all these things. People that are helpful, people that get along. We're going to talk about that today too, getting along with each other. So I just think PulseChain's undervalued.
Dude, it's been crazy. I've been trying to go through a lot of different live streams and trying to catch some just general crypto streamers live and just talk to them, super chat them, whatever, and ask them about Hex, ask them about PulseChain, and got to generate a lot of content over that too. And a lot of people, especially when you see, I like it when I post a clip and they see it and they see how many people like it, how much engagement they get from this community. It's a win-win. It's like if you like Hex and PulseChain and you say nice things about it, you can get a lot of engagement. And like making that making that mapping to influencers out there, especially the ones who aren't, in our community. I think that's just like one of the coolest things that can come out of it. And it's super cheap to do too. And just take some time, take some, whatever, a few dollars or whatever. And I think it's a win-win. So, but I've been noticing, came across so many different streams from different people. And some of them, they're just looking at CoinMarketCap. And you ask about PulseChain, and they either don't know about it or they try to look it up and they get confused. It's like, oh gosh, I should have said Hex. It has a chart there. And then this one today, actually, I've got a clip I haven't posted yet. Preview though, the guy he actually knows what DeFi llama is. Oh my gosh, he's like, oh, let me check out the TVL, and he starts comparing it to Kronos, which I have no idea what that is. It sounds like L1, and he's like, look at all the TVL locked up here. It's got more than Kronos, and like these realizations and these connections that can be made just by getting out there, being nice to people, just having good interactions, and just being able to show them the value that's here and if they believe it's undervalued, if they see the data and look at the numbers and they don't think it's undervalued, that's okay. That's okay. Maybe they'll lock it later when it's more value to their liking. But oh my gosh, man, there's a ton of opportunity out there to just show people what we're doing, and we're doing a lot of cool stuff.
One interesting metric that I'd like to dive into at some point, not on the stream today, but we look at the bridged in stable coins, and maybe there's like, I don't know how many there are right now, 80 million or something, maybe even more. What are those doing? I think a lot of those are sitting dormant, not doing anything at all. They're not in liquidity pools. They're sitting in wallets doing a whole lot of nothing. And how do we know this? Because you go look at the liquidity pools and you'll see, oh, okay, there's like $7 to $9 million worth of liquidity paired back to Pulse, and how much of those stable coins is paired to PulseX and the Hex. It's really not a lot. These numbers you're looking at, 124 million, the vast majority of that is sitting waiting. Hasn't bought, hasn't provided liquidity. He's just sitting there doing nothing. And why would it be on chain unless at some point, the owners of these stable coins would like to make some purchases with these stable coins?
Very interesting. Yeah, and this number was just a couple months ago. I've heard people say it was 60K. I know it was like 80K, like maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago. 124K. Yeah, maybe the values of the coins have went up a little bit too for some of the stuff bridged over. But if it's dormant, is it? Man, I don't know. We've been down a lot. Is it if people aren't doing stuff with their stables and they're in PulseChain right now? What do you think they're waiting on?
I'm not sure. Right. So look at how much DAI is bridged in, 41.6 million. Well, if you go look at the DAI Pulse pool, it doesn't have 41 million. It has a few million DAI paired back to Pulse. Take a look at that. Pools, liquidity.
Yeah, I was going to go to.
There you go.
I don't know if Pulse will pull it up. Let's do liquidity. Actually, here. There we go.
Right. It
should
should
take a minute.
Populate by the highest volume one or biggest ones first.
You can also go to the farm.
Or you can sort it by volume too, I think.
But even on the farm, so 48K not with DAI, but.
Okay, so that's PulseX rep back to Pulse, right? So that you almost can't count that. Yeah. Because you got to count the stables that are bridged in. So the first pool you would look at, there's that DAI, and it says, well, there's 20 million. But if you were to drill down into that, half of that's DAI and the other half's Pulse. Right. So there's that accounts for 10 million of the 40-some million DAI that's bridged in. And then you look at the USDC, you see 7.5. So 3.7 something, 3.7 million USDC are accounted for. The rest of these stable coins, now some of them are in other protocols. Sure, some of them are in Fame or even parked in Fox. But there's certainly 124 million stablecoins are not accounted for in the pools, which means they're sitting dormant, waiting to do something with them.
We got another bridge link. Let me try to pull it up too. Came across the interesting one the other day. Well, if I can find it. Yeah, this one. I don't know who made this, but they are awesome. Water, shout out to Water. So net inflow, and you can see, yeah, around the 6th. We took the 6th. We're retaking it. January 6th is now PulseChain go up in stablecoins day. 42 million up to 81. Talks about there from what it's counting at least. I wish I had some other. PulseX not loading. Not loading pulls. Come on, PulseX. Is there another way to look at drill down to more precise numbers for the pulls?
In PulseX, probably, unfortunately not.
Yeah, that's what we need. What was that? Uniswap.fish or what is the other? There's other explorers for Uniswap too, though, which we had on PulseChain in general.
Right, which we don't. Yeah.
Not yet. Is that an opportunity? What kind of, is that just rolling out infrastructure and forking stuff? Why hasn't that been done yet, you think?
I think it's just a matter of time. This stuff takes time. Like you've seen how many things like my team's creating, right? Like 6 protocols. You can't launch them all within even a month of each other. It's just it's impossible. There's people who are building alternative dexes, and some of them unnecessary, by the way, which is funny. For those that don't know, Uniswap v3 contracts are fully functional on PulseChain. There are front ends, and there will be more front ends for the existing Uniswap v3 pools. But I digress. This stuff just takes time to build.
Time to build, indeed. So, that's kind of, so the bullish case right now in your mind for PulseChain, we've got all these stables, and a lot of them aren't doing much or where they could be right now. And we've had some benevolent wells, come alive again. We saw some moves being made last few weeks. We saw Godwell's back on Twitter. Sentiment influencers seem to be talking a little bit more about it and stuff. BitBoy just joined Team Win. How do you see the landscape right now, man? Like, what do you think is like cool and maybe underrated about PulseChain right now as far as being bullish?
Well, I look at the things that have the most value on ETH. And what you'll find is it's always the DeFi protocols. It's always the curbs and the balancers and the convexes and the liquidities and the aves and the makers. Those are the things that have not only the most users, but retain the most value and have the most volume. Now, yes, there's always memes that are a copy of the last meme, which is a copy of the last meme, and a copy of the previous meme. Those will always come and go. And every now and then, one will gain a great community and do a ton of X's. Okay? A little bit like gambling. Because for every tax coin or every meme coin, there's literally thousands and thousands of others with the exact same code with a different JPEG. And the gamble is that the community that you've joined is somehow going to pump the one that you just bought, to the moon, right? And before it'll last a while and then it'll go away, all right? But what retains the most value on a chain? It's literally the DeFi protocols. It's you've got certain tools and services that are required to make a chain functional so that people can speculate and buy the memes and the tax coins and all the stuff they'd like to speculate on. And those are going to be on PulseChain things like liquid loans, Earn Protocol, PHUX, Fame, Fiat. You've got aggregators, you've got Piteus. You need things like that to find you the best, to grab you the best rates, combination of tokens from multiple pools. These tools, when you put them all together, are the infrastructure that makes everything else possible. Without these things, all you have is a chain that does nothing. And I really hope that people start to understand that. You don't necessarily have to invest in any of those things, but it's highly likely that over the course of your speculating with the thing that you like, whether it be a meme or a tax coin or some sort of you know gambling thing that you're doing, you will be participating, whether you know it or not, through those DeFi protocols. They're necessary.
Yeah, and just volume. I think maybe that's so bridging in assets is one. I'm just trying to think of some. There's definitely been a lot of building. Like, oh my gosh, feel like we forked most of the major protocols and probably made them a lot better here. Of course, you're going to be a lot more early than before. Locking up a ton of TVL with those, liquid loans, being a huge one lately. The guy added to DeFi Llama, which just really showed people the power of borrowing, lending, minting stables. I'm sure PowerCity is going to do that a lot too with Earn. And then are we just, I guess, you look at Twitter one morning and you see this happen and you're like, whoa, is it just like a ton more transactions just trending up? What more active wallets? I mean, we got a ton of stats that are trending up, but like, what is the big thing that would make you excited to see?
Well, it's all about those stable coins that are bridged in. At what point do they start buying? There are whales and smaller guys that are ready to buy at some point soon, right? That could be tomorrow. I have no idea. Tomorrow, Richard Hart has a hearing with his case. Maybe people are waiting to hear what goes on with that and like get a vibe, feel out the vibe of what the judge is like before they're like, oh, okay, this feels like it might go really positively. Even though we think it's, a shoo-in and that his case is solid, you don't necessarily, it's nice to hear from the other side, hear their voice, see what their sentiment is like. And it's like, oh, okay, all right. And then you buy in? I don't know. There are people certainly waiting for that. There's people waiting for the Bitcoin halving to get a little bit closer. There's people waiting for Richard to announce that he's done a complete settlement and all that crap is behind him. There's people waiting for all sorts of different reasons. People buy for their own personal reason. And usually that reason is very different than your own reason. In fact, I had an interesting conversation today. There are whales that literally buy into protocols, participate in protocols because they're too big not to. So imagine somebody like God Whale, for example, and you can say, oh, okay, that guy's got so much hex. What is he possibly going to do with it all? Okay. He can't sell it all without wrecking the rest of his bags. Sure, he can sell some of it, but it would be like eternal sell pressure. So what does he do? He participates in other things. Maybe he liquidity provides. Maybe he makes a couple rash decisions and he throws some at protocols that are good and throws some at protocols that are not so good. But he's trying to spread that around. Okay, so that's just one example. There's literally other whales that have so many stable coins, and they're like, oh, what am I going to do with all these? I can't possibly spend it all. I don't want to cash it out to my bank. So I'm going to park some over in PHUX, or I'm going to park some in liquid loans or an Earn protocol and just let it sit there. with all the risks that are associated with that. And that's okay with them. They just want to make some sort of little yield on that, and they need a place to put their money. Okay. So those guys, they make decisions that might be very different than somebody who, let's just say a poor person, and poor is relative, right? But let's say somebody who's only got $500 to their name, and that person says, "Oh, I want to strike it big in PulseChain," and they simply buy PulseX and hope that thing does a 10,000x, so they can be the next whale. The decision making is very, very different based on your size, based on what your goals are, and when you see people sell, I don't like to see all the attacking that's done on Twitter, by the way. There will always be people that sell before you, and you'll always feel a little bit upset when they make a bunch of money and you didn't. But vice versa, if they were to hold and you were to sell before them, they're going to be mad at you because you sold and made the price go down and they didn't sell before you. So it's literally like either you're going to be mad at them or they're going to be mad at you. You have to get over those feelings. You'll never be the first one to sell. Somebody will always get a better deal than you. There are ways to use your money and earn passive income, such as the protocols I mentioned, liquid loans, earn protocol, all the PowerCity stuff, all the buck fiat stuff, and you can earn passive income through those. And sometimes you can sit on your coins and just earn a yield and be happy with that yield. Maybe that's good for you. But everybody has different goals, different strategies, and it's a huge wide spectrum. And everyone always gets mad at everyone else who has a different strategy than them. And it gets a little bit silly.
Just wanted to bring this up to, you want to talk about this? And I saw you retweeted earlier as well. What does this mean? Because I got a few questions. Maybe a good segue into some of the earn questions. But
sure.
What does this mean, Jesse? Could you explain it for us?
So earn protocol has a release mechanism for the tokens. When you mint some stable coins, you can place those into a stability pool for a chance to earn some liquidated PulseX. That's not necessarily going to happen all the time or even that frequently, because people have caught on that it's a good idea to have safe collateral levels where you don't get liquidated. So being a stability provider, you might find that you're just parking stable coins. You're not earning any liquidations. Like once every blue moon, there's a random liquidation that's probably done on purpose. So the way you keep people in the stability pool is you give them an emission of earn tokens. Those earn tokens, you have to have them and stake them to earn the fees. Whenever somebody mints a stable coin, some of those stable coins go straight to the stakers of the earn token. Whenever somebody does a redemption, some of that PulseX from the redemption goes straight to the stakers of the earn token. All right. And the way that you collect these earn tokens and grow your earn token position is through that stability pool where you can earn a chance of liquidations that might not happen all that frequently. So you simply sit in there with stable coins and you accumulate earn tokens. The rate those earn tokens are being emitted is it's over a halving schedule where the rate that it's emitting right now, the quantity of tokens it's emitting today, 365 days from now, it will be emitting half as much as it is today. And that just simply goes on a curve that slows down and slows down and slows down. And at the annual mark, 365 days, it's emitting half as much as it was 365 days earlier. So it's kind of like a Bitcoin halving, only it's on a 1-year schedule and it's on a curve, block by block by block, instead of a hard halving where it's like emitting at a certain rate, and then instantly it's emitting half as much. It doesn't do that. It simply just slows down the rate of emission. And what it shows us is like by year, how many days? By day, wow, 1,500 or 2,000 or so. We'll say year 6 to 7, somewhere in there. The majority of all the tokens have already been emitted. The theory is that early on you have this distribution. You grab as many tokens as you can by being in the stability pool. But over time, people, if they want to gain a position, they're going to have to buy those tokens from those that earn them from the stability pool. Because it will say by year 7, where are you going to get a good emission of tokens? Maybe you'll have to buy them. You'll have to go to a place like PHUX, or you'll have to go to PulseX and buy them from those that sat in the stability pool for the first few years. It worked for Bitcoin. It worked for Hex. It worked for, we think it's a good distribution model. We didn't change anything. This is exactly how Liquidity did it. And Liquidity's in what, year 2.5, year 3 or something. So they're still in the big part of their distribution here. But over the next 3 years, it'll start to slow down. And then where are people going to get those LQTY tokens? They'll probably have to buy them if people want a position to earn the fees.
Gotcha. Got a question here. How I made if I use earn and withdraw 50K to my bank, will Coinbase freeze my bank account? What do I tell them? LOL.
If I use earn and withdraw 50K to your bank, so if you withdraw 50K to your bank now through Coinbase, is Coinbase going to freeze your bank account?
Basically, yeah. It sounds like they're worried about big withdrawals, the bank account. Windfalls, I guess you'd call them. I don't know. People buy and sell houses all the time. They get huge deposits, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you look on chain and you look at it, like you can cash out $500 through Coinbase. You can cash out 500K through Coinbase. It's on you to, if you have capital gains, which maybe you even don't, you could literally pass value into crypto, 500K. A few days later, decide you're going to cash out 500K through a different exchange, just because the rate's better through the other exchange, and decide, oh, I changed my mind. You don't just have your bank account frozen just because money comes in. Typically, banks like to have money come in. They earn fees as well through the wire transfer fees, and they're going to try and sell you products. Once they realize you have a big, 50K in your account, they're probably going to be a lot nicer to you and try and sell you some sort of financial product at your bank. You don't get frozen for simply moving money around that's legitimately earned. Earn protocol is not a protocol where drugs are sold, where pornography is done, or anything like that. It's simply a lending and borrowing protocol. If you legitimately earn rewards through earn protocol and you cash out, and you can legally explain how those funds were earned, you should be fine.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm trying to think if I ever called the bank to give them a heads up that a big deposit was incoming. I don't remember doing that. I'm not sure people do that. Maybe they do. A couple of
not typically.
I
mean, if you go to a bank and you try and withdraw cash, sometimes like you have to call them in advance to make sure they have the cash on hand.
They never do.
Like you need to withdraw 100K and you just show up out of the blue. Sometimes they'll tell you, "Oh, sorry, we don't have that much here. You have to go to this other branch." And they may ask you what you need this money for, and you simply tell them, and they make a note of that in their computer, and you go about your business. People move money around all the time. There's literally billions and billions of dollars that are moved around through banks and through crypto every single day. You should not be worried about 50K unless you are doing business with some terrorist organization, and that's on you, bud. Sorry.
I guess the nuance here is that there's been so many bank stuff. I mean, was it JP Morgan was like canceling people using crypto accounts or something around that? Don't quote me on that, anyone, but I thought there was something I've seen people post about that before.
There's certainly crypto friendly banks and then non-crypto friendly banks. Absolutely. Yep. Not hard to find which ones are which.
Jesse, you cannot dodge this one. Earn going live? Question mark. Somebody win earn question. So I'll put one up there.
Yeah, just as soon as it's rendered as safe as possible for the community, right? We have a unique opportunity. I don't know if you paid attention to Liquid Loans. They went live. They have Fetch up and running now, and they're there's a series of redemptions that didn't make people happy. Look, redemptions are not always bad, by the way. Redemptions are a part of the system. But the protocol might have been misused by a couple people through the redemption mechanism. So we have a unique opportunity now that we haven't launched yet to really just examine that and make sure that our price feed, our method of what the protocol is using for the price of PulseX is as rock solid, as close to spot as practical, so that people are using the protocol as intended and not taking advantage of certain mechanisms. So we don't want to rush that. And Liquid Loans has done an excellent job with their fetch system, dialing in what they need to make everything as perfect as it can be on PulseChain. Again, we have a unique opportunity before we even launch to dial that in. We want to dial all that in before we launch.
Launching after Liquid Loans, definitely. I could see it's good data to see, you can see how their launch went, maybe you learn if there's anything that you would like to went better or otherwise. I mean, I think overall it was, there's plenty of criticisms back and forth. I'm sure people voiced them before, but it's always good to see somebody else go first. And then you're like, okay, let's, if we want to change things, we've seen something else go live. And it takes time. This is not every time a launch happens. Just everyone out there listening, like just imagine the team is like they think everything's good, right? Like they've done all the audits, they've done all the checks, they set up all the infrastructure. They've probably been going, hard on caffeine for a week or two straight, and now they're just like, okay, are we ready? And then they have a set of choices. Can we launch? If we see something that's a little off, is it okay to still launch? Do we need to delay? There's a lot that goes into it. So I think everyone understanding it just goes.
There's a ton that goes into it. And remember what the redemptions are for. When the price of the stablecoin falls under $1, you can, as any community member, you should go buy some of those stable coins and then redeem them for $1 for the pulse from the system. It is the collateral health of the system. It repegs the value of the stablecoin back to $1. You profit the difference, whatever you bought the stablecoin at versus you redeemed it for $1 worth of pulse. So, you made that difference. What's not cool to see is the major price swings in Pulse being taken advantage of, where now there's a price difference on this lending protocol. Let's say PulseX trades at 2% less than what it trades for on the PulseX platform, and then people are racing off to run redemptions and instantly market dump those on everyone's head, and it wipes out a bunch of vaults. That's not fair. That's not right. So when I read comments like, hey, Liquid Loans is fine, just launch, there's literally things that have to be done to dial the time weighted and time volume averages in as close as possible to best protect everybody from unnecessary redemptions that they're not designed to do. You can't stop redemptions. They've got to exist. But you want to dial it in and make it as safe as practical for everyone. And then combine that with some education to the community that redemptions are not bad. It doesn't feel good to have a vault and then you go look at your vault and you're like, oh, my vault was paid off. Well, yeah, somebody paid it off for you. because you already got the stable coins. It's not always bad. Where it starts to feel bad is somebody paid off your vault and you want to go buy back your collateral, and your collateral costs more than what that guy paid it back at. Right now, you're left paying an extra 2 or 3% or something. So these numbers have to be dialed in. We have to do some due diligence to best protect the community. It's the right thing to do. We're not just going to launch and make people feel like they got screwed or it was our fault or something like that. We're going to do what's right for the community.
Just want to get your thoughts on this one too. So this is a stream I did the other day with Neil from Tetra. It went really well. I recommend everyone check that out because we went over a ton of different strategies and otherwise for this. But as far as accessing liquidity, let's say we get the mad gains, Jesse. Let's say, everything does 100x, all that stuff, whatever magic number people need to go get off crypto Twitter and go outside and live a better life and be a force for good in the world, all that stuff. How do you think, what are some of the ways that you think people will get liquidity, near the top or whenever they feel like exiting, if we do really well, this year, next year, and so on in bull run?
Interesting question. I think people exit at all different points. So you can have a ton of people that are calling for a 10,000x. Well, guess what? Secretly, there's people that will sell at a 500x and a 200x and a 10x and a 5x. People are going to be spread out all over the place. And there's always people that are buying that entire time too. Unless everybody just abandons ship and everyone sells at the same time and there's no buyers and it goes straight down, there's buyers and sellers and buyers selling along the whole journey. So there's certainly going to be liquidity. Now, that doesn't mean all that liquidity is going to be in one spot. There's literally, let me give you an example. The community needs to understand this, by the way. Uniswap V2 or PulseX V2 is very good for price action because of slippage. There's no buy walls and sell walls that are all in one price stacked up. Okay? It's literally a line. More buyers, the price starts to slip this way. More sellers, it starts to slip this way. So PulseX V2 is very good for something like PulseX token or Pulse or Hex. Okay? It is not so good for stablecoins. The slippage is really bad. You can go right now and try and swap like 10,000 DAI for, see how many USDC you'll get, and you're going to lose hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. It's ridiculous. And that's because these pools cannot differentiate what's supposed to be a stablecoin and what's not. It just slips one direction or the other direction. So there's things called stable pools that balance everything out and use a different algorithm. Balancer, PHUX, same thing. PHUX is amazing for stablecoin pools. If you're going to swap stablecoins, DAI, USDC, USDT, USDL, PXDC, any of these things, even Coast, if you're going to swap any of these, you will literally always get a better rate on PHUX. Way better rate. In fact, almost no slippage at all. You can go right now and swap 100K worth of one stablecoin, and you might get 100K plus or minus 10 of the other stablecoin you're trying to get into. And when you have something like Pateus, which is an aggregator, or PortalX, which is also evolving over time, that are aggregating these pools, when you're swapping from one token to another, sometimes they have to go through these stable coins. Sometimes the biggest pool, for example, is Pulse paired to DAI. But there's another pool of DAI paired to USDL. Okay. So when you're using an aggregator, it's going to route through where it needs to, such as PHUX, and it's going to give you way more of the coin you're looking for, simply because balancer pools now exist. PHUX now exists. So not all the liquidity will be in the same place. It can't be in the same place because the way the algorithms work, it just stablecoin pairs suck on PulseX. It doesn't matter. And by the way, it doesn't matter how thick you make them. You can pair 10 million of one stablecoin to 10 million of another. And you can think, oh, it's just so thick that it's their liquidity bonded. I hear this across places all the time. Oh, the liquidity is bonded and paired because it's so thick. No. Pair that stuff on Uniswap V2 type pools, and they suck when you swap through them. So you will absolutely find that, like I said, much of the infrastructure that PulseChain needs is not all built by Richard Hart. Some of it's in things like PHUX.
Do you think that'll play a role too, just people exiting, needing to go from maybe some of the native stable coins like USDL and PXDC and CST and stuff, swapping to USDC? Or how do you think, what is a way to exit with millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars, for example, when there's plenty of liquidity?
Well, at this moment, the pool you looked at, right, that showed there was like 10 million DAI paired back to Pulse. That's about it. That's what there is for exiting. Maybe there's some other random pools elsewhere, but there's about 10 million bucks there. That's how much you can exit. That pool has to get bigger. That is option one. Option two, we start bridging out the native stable coins to other blockchains. So things like PXDC or USDL, those, or Coast, those get bridged out to Ethereum, for example. And then you get whale guys who say, well, I want to pair these stable coins over in the Curve protocol to the DAI that's over there. That also counts as exit liquidity. So now, not only do you have that 10 million DAI that's paired on PulseChain back to Pulse, now you literally have a way to go back to Ethereum and, oh, wow, maybe there's another 10 million over there. And now you have $20 million worth of exit liquidity. It all has to get added together. At the moment, there's not a whole lot, but it's okay because the price is kind of just going sideways a bit. In time, as people are looking to exit, that number is going to have to grow. That will happen naturally because as the liquidity providers' bags get bigger, now they say, what am I going to do with all this money? Let me take some of it and go add to these liquidity pools because I can't possibly exit all of this. So they'll just naturally take some of their stable coins, pair it back to the Pulse they have, stick it in a pool, or bridge some native stable coins back to ETH because they have too many of them, because they collateralize it against Pulse, which went up a lot. And they say, I guess I'll take a bunch of these stable coins back to ETH and pair it to Ethereum or pair it to the DAI over on Ethereum. All that starts to add to how much other people can extract when they're looking to sell.
Good question here from New Orleans. Why exit? Trust dropping the pools and farms, leaving liquidity and earning yield the whole way. I think the point on that too, and Jesse, you can speak to this, is if you're going to exit near the top, exit part. I'm not saying sell everything, emergency and stake, all this stuff. I'm just saying if you're going to exit at some point, if you want to actually take this magic internet money and go do real world stuff with it, some people like to do things like that. You don't have to exit completely, but take some of your profits and go do something. If you're going down, if you do it at the top and you think things are going down afterwards, the yield, you're looking at your yield, hey, maybe it's really high today, but maybe in a few weeks or a few months, you're not making as much. You can't live off the yield anymore. And now you just lost a bunch of value of the coins. So how do you reconcile that, Jesse, too, with, people wanting to leave money in because they don't want to, exit their money makers, but also thinking, hey, if you believe in market cycles, things do go down over time and your yield is not going to be you're not going to get the best bang for buck for your yield anymore.
I mean, yeah, everyone needs to understand this concept of earning off of their existing assets. It's really important to things like earn protocol, but it's tried and true, like in the real estate industry too. Look, you can buy a house, you come out of pocket a bunch of money at first, and regardless of market conditions, that house may go down or up in value. But if it's a good market that has where people like to rent, you're always going to have a check coming in, and it's only a matter of time. Could be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years before you earn back your initial. But at some point along the way, are you going to hold that forever? You could still decide to sell. Like, even people who rent houses occasionally sell a house. And they use that money and they go buy a different house and they start renting that one instead. Like, it happens. People will always sell. You cannot prevent people from not selling. You can encourage everybody to earn a yield. What do you do when the yield just like what happens if nobody sold and the price just went straight up? So the yield people were earning also was going straight up. Well, people are still selling because they're gonna extract that yield. They're gonna take the loan tokens or the earn tokens or the PHUX tokens or whatever, and they're just gonna dump that and extract all that value. What about Hex? It's impossible not to sell some. The price you pay for that game is volatility. Dips are in the game, is what Richard says. And that's simply because you stake it and you get more of it. But the only way you're ever going to buy anything with it is if you sell some of it. So, yeah, cool. You could stake it for the rest of your life, and then you can die, and then pass on your stakes to your children. And, I mean, you can live your whole life never selling a single Hex coin. Is that how you want to live your life? At some point, people will always sell, but encouraging good behaviors of earning yield along the way so that it's not only selling is also a good idea. And remember the math we did that one time, selling versus not selling.
Mm-hmm.
If you started with 20K and I started with 20K, and if the price doubled and you sold on a double every time the price doubled, what would you have after 10 doublings? You would have, okay, so 20K turned into 40K, you sell half your bag. You have 40K. But you have 20K in the original asset. It doubles in value, you sell again. You have another 20K. You do this 10 times, you would have $220,000. Yay! Congratulations. You turned $20,000 into $220,000 because you sold half your bag every time the price went up 2x. Congratulations. What an amazing story. You had huge gains. You had just over 10x gains on your money, right? Mm-hmm. But the funny thing about this is I never sold. I started with the same coins, 20K, and I decided not to sell. And they went to 40K. And I still didn't sell. And then it doubled again. And it went to 80K. Then it went to 160K. Then it went to 320K. And after 10 doublings, my coins are now worth $20,420,000. 10 doublings. 20 times 2 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 times 2. 20 million, $400 some thousand.
The power of holding.
Okay, that is the power of holding and not selling. And the only reason that's possible is because every time you sold, you're simultaneously extracting value. but you're cutting your coin count in half. So your future earning potential is now cut in half. And even if it goes up in value again and you sell, you're cutting your coin count down again and again and again. Where I start with this original amount of coins and I have that earning potential on that quantity the entire time. And we held this, well, the same time period that you were selling, I didn't sell, and I turned in, my value turned into 20 million some dollars. Okay. Now the temptation was too great along the way. I couldn't bear it. It was too difficult for me because I saw you and you were so happy that you were, your first sell and your fifth sell. And it's like, oh man, wow. You made your first 100K off of that 20K. Oh my goodness. But I'm holding. How can I beat the temptation of doing the same thing that you're doing? And that is the power of lending. So while you're selling, I'm going to say, you know what? The temptation's too great. My 20K is now worth, 400K. I want to sell really badly, but I really think this thing is still undervalued. So I'm just going to hold, but I'm going to collateralize it and I'm going to take a loan out against it. Why? Because if the value goes down, even if I'm liquidated, man, I just locked in those profits. It's like a stop loss. But if the value goes up, I have the future earning potential on all those coins, and I continue to balloon my value bigger and bigger and bigger. And all I have to do is chase, or like a trailing stop loss, chase my collateral health behind that so that I can actually capture the most amount of value out of the coins that I'm collateralizing. That's how I lock in, not just 20,400,000 some thousand, because I put that money to work for me along the way. If I minted stablecoins, for example, if I collateralized PulseX, I got a loan out. I'm like, sweet, I've got this value. I've kept my original stablecoins. My collateral health is at a safe level. It would require, an 80% dip for me to be liquidated. I can fully manage that. I can pay back my loan at any time I want to. Okay, I don't think it's going to dip 80% in a single day. But now I've got all these stable coins. Oh, let me put these in the stability pool, or let me go put these in a liquidity providing pool over in PHUX and just earn the yield on these while I wait. So not only did I make $20,480,000, maybe I earned another $5 or $6 million on top of that along the way because I put my value to work for me the entire time. It's a super powerful narrative to collateralize your assets and not sell them. The richest people in the world. Look, I'm super passionate about this because the richest people in the world do not sell. The Donald Trumps of the world, the people complain, where's his tax returns? How come he never pays taxes? It's because he doesn't sell anything. You can't pay taxes if you don't sell, right? If all you do is take loans out against your stuff and then put that money to work, and then you collateralize that stuff and you put that to work, like, there's risks. Absolutely. Markets can go down. You could be liquidated, but you have some pretty good stop loss things built into these sorts of protocols where even in those events, you just extracted a boatload of value because you were able to hold longer than the other people who were doing nothing but holding or trying to hold, right? Like selling on a double or whatever. That's a horrible way to make money. Sell on a double, half your bag. Now half your bag is gone. Because you'll end up buying back later, by the way. Like if you were to sell half your bag on a double, you'll get that first 20K. You'll spend half of it. You'll go buy some Louis Vuitton. You'll take your wife out on a nice date. You'll do this and that. And you'll feel guilty that you sold some of it. And you'll literally come back in with 5 or 10 of it. And you'll just buy back in and push the price up again. It happens all the time. The way that you make the most value in crypto is hold the longest in a price run up. And what makes that very easy to do is lending.
And it's I think too, just people get really stuck on like never selling and just like never taking prop. I think there's just a lot of emotions to get into it, but I think on the logical side, it's just give me a game that where I don't want to sell it. Make the incentive so in my favor that I don't need to sell it, or I want to sell less of it, or I want to roll it into other assets. And that's our advantage on PulseChain is we have all these products. We have a way for you not to have to just market sell this stuff. And again, you got to do your research, figure out you understand this stuff. You know, there is risks, there's liquidations, all that too. But we have the tools to make it easier to not just make these decisions that just cost you a bunch of money, or just make you earn less than you would have. And I think that's the point. It's not this, again, it's easy. It's almost like, I don't like speaking to people like they're dumb. I don't like saying you should never sell your coins just because, deep down, I know they will, but I just keep saying that over and over and over. Maybe they'll sell less of them. Like, I just don't speak that way. I'll tell you what I'm thinking. And it is, hey, people are going to do what they're going to do. And I don't blame anyone for taking profits at a certain point. And if they want to use the tools available in the ecosystem to make that hurt the price less, or make more money through it, or hold longer, but like, more power to you. I think that's the advantage we have here is you can actually do that. A lot of other ecosystems, you either don't have it or you don't have healthier games to play. But again, incentivize me, make me not want to sell. Give me a good game to play.
So, some people will try to convince others not to sell so that they can sell first. All right. You see this a lot in meme communities. Hold, hodl, just a little bit longer. Meanwhile, the early guys are just dumping on your head, right? And that's a horrible strategy that just gets people wrecked over and over and over. However, when you legitimately have a way for people to put their value to work for them without having to sell, and many people are doing it, and people are lending against their asset, which is locking it up. Like, what does Liquid Loans have right now? Over $100 million worth of Pulse is locked into the Liquid Loans protocol. 100 million, 1 trillion Pulse is locked in that thing. Last I checked. Okay. Those are people that wanted to put their value to work, that would have sold without a protocol such as this, because they want to earn some sort of yield. They want to do something with their coins. They're tempted to do things with their coin, and waiting is too hard for them. But it's simple to lock some Pulse in there, mint some stable coins, go put them to work, and go play. Go buy some Hex, go buy some PulseX, go yield farm here, go yield farm there. Put your value to work for you, and it ends up locking a ton of coins up in the system. In the meanwhile, these people are making money. The rest of the community's value is much higher because those people didn't sell. The more and more people do it, the higher the price goes. Will there always be people waiting in the weeds to sell on their heads? Yeah, we saw that a couple weeks ago. We saw a big whale come in and dump a bunch of Pulse. He could have collateralized. He could have yield farmed. He could have done other things, and instead he sold. Now, that was his right. Right or wrong, there were other things he could have done. Ironically, it is a double-edged sword because it seems he market dumped. Market dumping actually extracts the least amount of value from the rest of the community because he eats all the slippage instead of everyone else having to eat that extra 200K worth of slippage. Those are arguments for another day. But the point is, there's always going to be people waiting in the weeds to try and dump. But if you're careful, as long as you're putting your value to work in a very smart way, you have an opportunity to earn a passive income for years and years to come without ever having to dump your initial coins and live with the regret of, oh, I sold my coins, I spent that money, I went back through Coinbase, I spent that money, I bought that car, or I did this or that with it, and now I don't have very many coins left, and I wish I still had some coins left, but I don't because I sold, right? You can eliminate all that using lending protocols.
We just had breaking news. Richard Hart tweeted, Bitcoin, you didn't sell the 65K when I called the top 1,000 days ago. If you bought 20K in 2017 and waited 2,227 days, you did a 2.2x. PulseX, Hex, Inc. have all done these kind of gains in 30 days. After the BTC ETF launched, before FTX, Gox, Finex, hackers, and Silk Road hackers stumps, consider joining the winning team. Why wait another crypto lifetime for 2 or 3x? Winning feels great, essentially. It's good to see him tweet. Like to see some more videos. Like to see some streaming back. What do you think, man? Is he confident that we're going to smash it this year?
Yeah, Richard's always confident. And, we should be confident too, because I think many people think here as well that it's undervalued. There's a lot of people who have not come over yet. The community has grown a little bit. Largely, though, the community is the same community that it was 2 years ago. We've got to grow our community. Little by little, new people are coming over. Even big players like Ben, DIY investing guy, he's interested now. There's bigger entities that are focusing on PulseChain and saying, you know what, that ain't such a bad idea. That's kind of cool over there. There's a lot of volume. There's a big community. So we're still on the very early stages of this thing, in my opinion. And at this moment in time, I think it's undervalued.
What do you think of the community too? I mean, the green candles are back. I don't know. We seem to be celebrating half the time. The other time, just trying to find something to something to be unhappy about.
Unfortunately, this community is very passionate sometimes for the wrong reasons. Look, I think that it is much better for us all to stay positive, to help each other, to communicate. Look, I'm a founder of a protocol, and I talked to no less than 3 other founders of 3 other protocols today. One of them literally just wanted me to call just so we could check on each other and see if we needed anything. We had a great discussion about some stuff. That's how we all need to be. That's how the majority of us in the community are. We want to help each other. We have some guys trying to form a PulseChain foundation and try and figure out ways to get listed on exchanges. We have devs that are helping each other. We have a great community, but we also have some dirtbags in the community who like to lie, like to make up stories about other people, who like to strong arm people and make fun of people and make fun of protocols and just make up stories and spread hatred amongst the community. They're very easy to spot. I think that behavior needs to stop. That's not how you grow your own community, let alone bring new people from outside the chain in. That's a huge turnoff, by the way. If I went into a crypto community and I just saw a bunch of infighting and people making death threats against each other and stuff, I wouldn't want to be there. Why would I come in and try and learn about a new protocol when all they can do is just yell at each other and call each other racial, say everyone's racist and threaten to kill each other and so on and so forth? Why would I want to be anywhere around that? I'm just trying to learn about a protocol to see if it's a place where I want to invest some money. And if the community is acting that way, that doesn't give me confidence that other people are going to want to use those protocols and make the value go up, right? So what I implore the community to do is be nice to each other. There's a lot of hatred lately, unnecessary hatred. Maybe some of it stems from drugs and alcohol. Maybe some of it stems from people who maybe sold too early or feel like they missed out on an opportunity, and are looking for, they're desperately searching for that next thing, and they just get angry at success that happens around them. I have no idea, but there is certainly a lot of hatred in the community, and it's got to fucking stop, guys. It's got to stop. It's ridiculous.
Looking forward to, yes, more love and just more the ability to, see everyone's perspective, and whether you like a project or not, there's plenty of stuff I like, plenty of stuff I'm not interested in. I just don't talk about it very often, and that's fine. Everyone's got their own prerogative, and but yeah, I think just being respectful and winning together. Like we have this shot, and it's just, I don't know, there could be so much more winning
for all of us. Mm-hmm. If this thing's undervalued, which I think it is, that means everybody in the community right now is early, right? We can only hope. Which means there's room for all of us. Spreading hatred, what is that going to do? What, you're trying to run somebody out of the community, get them to sell, make them go away? I don't necessarily think anybody's going to go away. We all want to be here. We all want to see PulseChain successful. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in these Telegrams. We wouldn't be on these YouTubes. We wouldn't be building these things. We want to see each other succeed. That's the only way.
Spend a lot of time producing content, and I want us to succeed for sure. Like, I think there's a lot of good to be done here. Just want to say, anyone who's new to PulseChain listening to, I know there's every once in a while, I feel like I get some new people watching, not just the subs. Shout out to the subs as well. But if you're new, GoRealDeFi.com is the site that I made to access a lot of the apps and IPFS and all that stuff to make it easier. But also, it's got buy buttons. If you're interested in buying different services and places, you can go for that. Some of the best ones that I think of that are the easiest and fastest, at least not all of them. And also learn to earn. So I'll give, if you click on PulseChain, there's a playlist to teach you how to do pretty much everything you want to do on the chain. And I add more videos to it from time to time as well. So again, anyone new out there listening, or if you're just trying to onboard people, check out the site and click on Learn to Earn. And then PulseChain also got links to Hex Scout as well. Fantastic website if you're new to Hex and staking and interested in that on PulseChain. And PulseX also links to Coffee's video as well that explains it. So I just want to, I try to make content. I make a lot for the community, and I also want to make sure people who are watching who are in the community, who are community curious, who like a lot of the products we have here, is an easy way for them to get into at least the blue chips, and then once they get in, they can go after whatever product they want. So, Jesse, fantastic conversation, man. As always, it's like your 10th time on the show, and you always come here and just either sharing some knowledge, sharing some love, or just showing us how valuable you are to this ecosystem. So always appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Where can people find out more about you? Some of the projects you're working on, all that stuff.
PowerCity.io. We have a number of protocols that are either launched or are coming very soon. And my name's Just Ask Jesse. You can find me on any Telegram or Twitter, same name.
Awesome. Yeah, and the links in the description for Jesse and his Twitter and PowerCity stuff as well. Appreciate that, Hextra Shares. Appreciate that. Yeah, everyone, that's all we got for you today. Be safe out there. I wish you all the maddest of gains, and Scivive and 5555. We are out.
See ya.